Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's off-season outlook and discussion for March 19th, 2024. And in today's update, we're going to talk about a few things here. We're going to be talking about those zonal winds at the 5 South, 5 North line. We're also going to talk about the zonal winds for the 10 North, 20 North line. What these two here do is the 5 South, the 5 North line. Pretty much, this is like your equatorial, regions here across the globe. And the most important parts of this is right in here, like 90 west to like 180 west. This is your Enzo zone here. And what you see here, these oranges and reds, these are indicative of those westerly winds that are taking charge here over those waters. And what that's going to do is that's going to prolong the El Nino just a little bit longer, and also that works on those warm subsurface pool underneath the surface, and that's going to help exhaust the rest of that too. So we're just going to have to see how this all pans out going forward. And yeah, it looks like from the looks of these westerlies are going to be here for the next 10 days or so. So that's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds here as we head out through time. So what we have here now is the 10 north to 20 north line here. So this is anything above the equator here. And mostly when we look at 10 to 20 north, we don't look at the Pacific here. This is more important for like say for like the Atlantic season, which I'm mostly talking about on these videos, is this region right in here between 80 west and the 20 west here. And right now we do got a trade surge here with these blues here, which indicates the easterly wind burst that is going to cool us down a little bit more before we start to see these reds return a little bit here. 4, 5, days away. So with that said, we might see a period of warming here in these 2 days of March 22nd and March 23rd. But then we might go back to more of a neutral pattern here. A little bit of weak easterlies here, and right here at day 10 here on the 29th, that's when the red anomalies start to really kick back up again, as we might see these westerly wind bursts return to warm up these waters again as we head closer to the month of April and closer to the start of the hurricane season. So now we're going to take a look at the SST anomalies here. We're going to go to the Enzo region first, and you can see that the 1+2 region really took a big hit here. We're talking about 24 to 25 degrees Celsius. Yeah, that took a pretty big hit. And as you can see, moving west, this is exactly at the equator, and some of those cooler anomalies are really starting to work its way westward as we head out through time. But like I said, I showed you guys those red anomalies on the zonal winds, and this might warm back up a little bit. So this might look like a different story a little bit here when I do my next update on Saturday. We're just gonna have to see what happens here. So with that being said, let's take a look at the North Atlantic here. We might go to tropical Atlantic here. Yeah, this is a good picture here. And these 26th line is getting really up there for the month of March. Normally, you see those 26s down here near the islands and south of the islands, but this year, with everything so hot, these 26-degree isotherms here are shooting their way north. So it's only going to be a matter of time before we start seeing a part of the subtropics warm up pretty nicely here, along with this Gulf Stream here too, which is already 26 degrees Celsius, which is the magical, temperature for hurricane activity. And as you can see, Those 26s are starting to hook to the right here, so that's going to be interesting to watch as well. Caribbean, we're around 27, 28 degrees Celsius at these locations. Why don't we take a look at the Gulf of Mexico? Let's see if I can. West Atlantic is going to have to do here. So, as you can see, the Bay of Campeche is warming up pretty nicely. We got 26s and 27s popping up, and you got the loop current here, which is pretty much in the central, eastern part of the Gulf of Mexico here. Definitely seeing 26s and 27-degree, isotherms here as, we move farther into March and we start warming up. These temperatures are only going to get warmer, and that is going to fuel the severe weather season, you know, in the, Dixie Alley, Ohio Valley, you know, the Great Plains. This is going to be a recipe for disaster, not only for the hurricane season, but tornado season as well. So, those interested in that kind of thing needs to pay close attention to just how warm the anomalies are in the Gulf of Mexico, because they are definitely running above average at this point in time. Speaking of above average here, let's take a look at the anomalies in the. We're gonna do West Atlantic first and work our way back to the Enzo. And like I said, the Gulf of Mexico is way above average here. We're talking about 1 to 2 degrees above the long-term average here, and that's fuel. That's plenty of fuel for tornado season and later on hurricane season. Obviously, the temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico right now do not determine or dictate how a hurricane season is going to go, and most of that determining factor of how the hurricane season is going to go is the tropical Atlantic. And dear Lord, look at that shape. You got a bending pretty much. You got a pretty much a horseshoe here. Of a horseshoe. I mean, just look at that horseshoe. That's classic plus ammo there, and that is pretty indicative of a pretty active hurricane season. If this was, around June, I mean, obviously it still, indicates that we're probably going to have a pretty decent hurricane season. But we're still in March. You know, we have to see how the trade winds go. How long it takes for this, for the warm up to start back up again after these easterly wind burst event here in the Atlantic. Also, another key factor here is the subtropics here. We're talking about from 25 north all the way to 50 north. And right now, this would not override any warmth. This is as in the NDR tropical regions here. And that is also important because, one, if the subtropics is cooler than the NDR, that's going to leave less stability problems later on for these storms. But also again, it is March, so we don't know if this cool subtropic is going to stay or whether it warms up, because as recent years, pretty much since 2011, we have seen the subtropics pretty warm. So we're gonna have to see if the trends stick with this motion. And here we go here in the Enzo region, and you can see clearly here that the 1+2 region is pretty much done with the Nino event. It's pretty much at La Nina territory here, and it's probably gonna get colder as we head out through time, and these anomalies make their way west. So, like I said, there's gonna be at least a 10-day period of westerly wind burst, but after that, I think it's gonna fall off a cliff, and that'll be the end of El Nino and going into more of a La Nina based state. So, with that being said, let's take a look at the graphs here. And as you can see, you know, you can see where these westerly wind bursts are playing a factor here in these as the temperatures are starting to rise here. We went all the way from +1. Now we're back up to +1.157 on this index. On the 1+2, that's still dropping like a rock because I think there's still some easterlies going on there. Uh, we'll probably see, increase too a little bit as we head out through the next couple of days. And here in the Atlantic MDR, the temperatures are starting to drop. You can see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the easterlies. Those pretty much cool down the waters here. We were about 1.37 degrees plus, and now we're down to plus 1.221. And obviously we're still super above average. So this is, I don't think these easterlies are going to matter too much in the grand scheme of things. But it's always important to watch the trends and what have you. In the Eastern Atlantic, you can see it's been pretty much a roller coaster ride for the last 3 months. And right now we're sitting at a plus 1.30 here above the long term average. So, yeah, even with these easterly wind bursts, we're still way above average. So, I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's even going to matter at this point. I think what's done is done when it comes to the SSTs. And plus, when you're coming out of that El Nino base state and going into a La Nina, that typically favors a springtime negative NAO. So that's going to be something we're going to have to watch here over the next couple of weeks and months to come. All right, I want to leave you off with something that I think is very, very interesting. And yes, I'm going to do a shameful, if I can talk, a shameless plug on yours truly, and that is me. So, what is this post, you might ask? Well, this is about the African standing wave here on the EPS ensemble 200 HPA velocity potential anomaly here. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. You see these blues and greens here lined up here, you know, setting across Africa, Indian Ocean, and Western Africa. That is an African standing wave, and what that entails is that upward moving air, is going up, right, and that's creating a whole bunch of stuff in the atmosphere, making clouds, making convection. It promotes, moisture. So normally with the ASW, you normally don't see this set up until late April, and I find that interesting that we're seeing this in mid-March. We are 1 month ahead of a typical African standing wave setup here. So this just proves that we are going into a La Nina base state. And yes, it seems like that's setting up pretty early here. And that's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out. I mean, is this going to promote wave action, tropical waves a little bit earlier than necessary than what we're normally see them? Maybe late April. Who knows? We're just gonna have to wait and see. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys again on Saturday.